Frayne Olson is our marketing analyst this week. The wheat industry recently faced an unusual shakeup when an Oregon farmer who sprayed his fallow wheat field recognized some wheat had survived. After testing, scientists discovered the wheat was glyphosate tolerant from a Monsanto line that was in testing nearly a decade ago. That shook international buyers and also a Kansas farmer who is now suing Monsanto for gross negligence. We discussed the issue with Frayne Thursday morning, but we began by looking at the current condition of winter wheat across the country.
Well, we get, again, every week we get crop condition updates. The winter wheat progress, the winter wheat conditions really haven't changed a lot throughout the rest of the growing season. They went in the last fall in pretty tough shape in a lot of areas. They broke dormancy, not much change in overall ratings, and even though we've been seeing some rain showers in the eastern portion of the winter wheat belt, the west still looks like it's in pretty tough shape. So I know the combines will start rolling as we get into the Texas and Oklahoma winter wheat harvest soon. We'll be watching the yield reports very, very closely, and we'll just see what happens.
But it looks, Frayne, like you were correct a few months ago when I said ignorantly, I don't understand why this crop just isn't running away in the markets, and it never really did, right?
No, it really hasn't. And there's a couple things that have developed. Internationally, we've talked about it before. There were some areas that we were watching fairly closely to see if there were some problems developing internationally. And as we look around the world at the world wheat situation, most of those areas that we were concerned about, at least temporarily, have been mitigated. They've been improved. So if you look into Europe, they've been having somewhat drier and cooler weather, which is good for small grain development. You look into the Black Sea region, and the areas that were a little bit on the wet side have been drying up. Those areas that were a bit on the dry side have been getting some rain showers. And Australia is starting to make some progress on their winter wheat seedings.
So that almost keeps a lid on what the potential for U.S. exports could be.
Yep. So if you look around worldwide in the world of wheat, the United States is really the one that's having the problems right now.
One of the problems is the GMO scare in Oregon. That flared up last week. Is there a possibility that that has legs, that it could run and international buyers are still concerned about this in a few weeks?
Well, we've already seen some international buyers requesting test kits to find out, have some of the shipments that they've already received contain some GMO material. The European Union has done that, Japan, Korea, as well as Taiwan. Now, to date, none of them have found any traces in the shipments that have been made thus far. They've also done more extensive testing within the seed supply in the Oregon area where the GM wheat was first found to see, is this more endemic? Is this something that's a bit wider spread? And again, as of today, we haven't found any other traces. So we'll have to wait to see how this plays out. There are some of the international buyers, in particular Japan and Korea, that are not tendering for U.S. grain shipments, especially for the white winter wheat, which was where the GM products were found. So short term, I think everybody's being very, very cautious, trying to figure out the extent of the problem. Longer term, we're just going to have to wait to see.
What's your opinion on where the market goes from here? Does it mainly run on harvest news from now on?
I think it'll be a combination of harvest news and some of the early yield reports that are coming out. And again, they're going to be very mixed. There's going to be part of the winter wheat country that has some very good yields and quality potential. There's going to be areas that do have some problems. The other thing is we're still closely tied to the corn market. Both domestically as internationally, the corn market is still pushing the wheat prices around. Wheat has really not been able to separate itself from the corn market yet, so they are going to be tied together as we move forward.
Wheat and corn tied together. Soybeans at this point, are they just operating independently?
Soybeans have gotten some independence, absolutely, and part of it is because of the planting progress that we've seen within the U.S. There are some concerns about, as we start reaching the final planting dates for corn across the U.S., are they going to be shifting to soybeans? Soybean planting progress has been well behind. This past week has not been a good planting week in most regions of the soybean belt. It looks like the forecast will be improving, so hopefully we'll make some progress later on, but this does push back our soybean harvest as well, which means we've got to stretch some pretty tight supplies from 2012 into a little bit longer window into 2013 before we get harvest going.
Yeah, that's exactly right, and that's not good news for those feeders because they were expecting this to be a major corn crop this year. With what we're seeing right now, do you expect that there's going to be some conversation about using feed wheat in place of corn?
There are those discussions going on right now. I mean, for the old crop scenario, the new crop, it's less problematic. I mean, the expectation right now for new crop is that we're going to have ample supplies. So I don't think there's a lot of new crop bidding, but there will be some, in my view, some very interesting things happening in those last months of the old crop season, just before harvest of corn in particular, trying to figure out, okay, how do we stretch our available supplies to make it until the new crop hits the market?